Is minutes of October 6th and October 13th.
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Discussion and possible action on claims
Move for approval.
in the amount of?
$533,04.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Operator's license. Contingent upon payment of any outstanding debt owed to the city and approval by the police department issuing a regular operator's license for the period of October 21st to June 30th, 2016 to Robert Hussey. Is that correct? Yeah, that sounds right.
Move for approval.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 5, boy, we're moving along well tonight. 2015 room tax subsidies and budget. As Neil, why don't you want to just kind of walk us through where we're at on this, Neil? As far as our revenues, where we're at, projections and all that?
If you look at it, last year was probably, we've had a trend where we've been going up annually. Last year, we took in a little bit shy of 192,000. This year, receipts for the first 2 quarters are up by close to 10% in total. So if you even conservatively projected the 3rd quarter, and we won't know the 3rd quarter until the end of this month, and the 4th quarter, we're going to exceed 190,000 again. I mean, it's highly unlikely that we would not. Coincidentally, our budget for 2014 was 165,000. So in the budget, again, I think it's a fairly, stable estimate of $190,000 for tax collections in 2015. If the past practice was followed, the contributions to the chamber of 70% of that amount would be $133,000. And then we have, last year we designated for projects related to tourism-related projects, support for other organizations, and beautification of the downtown, another $43,500. If that number was again appropriated, we would still have a budgeted excess of about $17,000 or $16,500. And then if the revenues were higher than 190,000, we would have 30% of that on top of it. When you look at it, if everything goes as projected this year, at the end of this year, we'll have a cash balance just shy of $70,000. That could be made available for other projects.
So what do we have right now as a available cash balance?
$54,750.
At the beginning of the year was 54,000.
Yep.
I mean, the 69,339 is based upon conservative receipts going out or coming in for the last 2 quarters.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do tonight, ladies and gentlemen, was just talk about this, and our required amount that we give for tourism is 40%, because we are under the old school of when the law was passed. I believe we were one of the first chambers, tourism bureau, and we instituted the tax right away. So we're at 40%. We're not required to do anything about 70%. We've elected through the years, we've increased our dollars amount to the Chamber of Commerce from, I think it was 50 to 60 to 70% over a 3 to 4 year period. So I'd like to consider freezing that amount, dollar amount, not percentage. And I think we need to look at, it doesn't have to be tourism related in the rest of the funds that we give out, because we're way over the 40%. If we give 68% or 65% to the chamber, again, we're just talking now. There is no, and we have some other needs and some other uses for those funds, such as our parking situation and parking meters and whatever the public safety comes up with what we want to do down where we're just spending 400 and some thousand dollars on our parking downtown, which I think really aids into the tourism group. So I guess I just want your ideas, what your thoughts are on it. I mean, I don't expect to make any recommendations tonight. I had given Kim an email to say, I just want you to think about this. I have no idea how the council or the finance committee is going to react to this. So I don't think that'll be, every year I think we need to look at the amount of money that we give away to nonprofit organizations. And there is, as I said last time when I said, why do we give to the seniors? I got a lot of calls from seniors the next day, okay? So it isn't that any of these organizations are bad, or it's a question of, is that the function of government, the city government, to be giving that money to nonprofit groups? And I'm not going to use anybody as an example because that's, but I think one of the things we should look at is what percentage of their budget are we helping them with? I mean, if we're the major contributor to their budget, that's a big deal to them. So, anybody have any thoughts, or was this a surprise?
No, it's not a surprise, but I did ask that request that we would talk about the request from the Miss Hudson Committee
Sure,
for the $4,500.
sure.
And it's pretty obvious that is tied into representing the city and the
Sure.
tourism. With that amount, I would like to see that full amount be funded. I'm not saying we'd do that tonight.
No.
We'd talk it out and get more of a plan for that. But it's nice to see this healthy reserve, if you will. Did we overtax? I don't think so. But I just want to see us be able to use it and use it properly. I'm okay with freezing it, but I don't want to. They're on a roll down there. They're
Oh,
doing a heck of a
absolutely.
job for
I don't think.
stuff that we don't want to do.
No, exactly, and, from I think our downtown and I think our businesses are doing okay. I mean, I think you look at the restaurants on Thursdays and Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Friday and Saturday nights, pretty busy in town. That's a good thing.
And I would agree with you
Yeah.
that
But
it should be part of some of the parking.
So my question is, if 130, or whatever the dollar amount is, what are you gonna do with 160? What are you gonna do with 190? How much more impact can you have with those dollars? I mean, does that mean we'll double the amount of people that come here because I guess at what point is it no longer efficient?
I guess even outside of that, every budget every budget that we have, whether it's public safety or public works, has all had to have a freeze the last couple of years. We've had to stay at a zero increase, and we haven't done that with the chamber. And frankly, they're part of a budget system that we work with. And so if they, like you said, and Alan said, they have done an incredible job. We have some great things coming down the pipe because of it. But that's a lot of money they can work with, especially if it's mostly for marketing. And I think that every budget needs to tighten their belts like we've been doing, and that's one of them. They've gotten, gosh, what was it? It's been over like a 50% increase since we
Double.
started this. So that's huge. That's the largest increase of any city budget we have. So, but one question I have is, I can't remember when in the timeline of budget time do we approve the next budget? Is that not till after the new year, or why do I feel like it's later?
You mean,
For the room tax?
Room
We
tax.
can do that at any time.
Anytime.
I mean, we can do that in context of our normal budget discussion, which, we're gonna have the public hearing in
November
November and
17th,
pass it at the
yeah.
end of November.
Okay,
I think the issue is we're trying to get our capital done, and we're trying to get our
right.
other budget done. And this, every one of the organizations that and I've received 2 other requests for funds from the Pam Brokaw from I'm trying to think, it's at the high school.
Yeah.
It's a
That's the
craft
second-
event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are hundreds or thousands, I don't know how many people show up there. It's a great event.
Yep.
again, is it the function of the city to donate money to private, nonprofit organizations? And I don't know, I struggle with that. And I don't know, maybe nobody else does, but, you know, where does it end? I mean, and how do we determine what's a good and how much they get? Because we have excess money, does it mean we should increase everybody? I don't think so, or look for somebody else. We have plenty of needs in the city, whether it's our you know, each year we go through the downtown decorative lighting or the flower baskets. Every year, there's never enough money for that. And it comes in September, and where's the money gonna come from? Well, September's not the time to come and ask for money. At least I don't think it is. But I get emails every year on that, and I'm not trying to pick on any one particular organization, but.
You know, I think that you and I were both around when we tried making, we pushed for 70%.
Yes.
That was a goal.
I was there too.
Yep.
At this, yeah. And I think that we need to stay there. I'm okay with the freeze, but
Yep.
I don't want to see us go backwards from that, because we've worked pretty hard.
Well,
And it's starting to show, I think, that.
but
the money
Randy, if
went to
we
good
keep,
use.
if we continue at 70% and the dollars we collect continue to grow, are you okay with 70, or do you want to, would you be okay with freezing it at a dollar figure of $130,000, or?
But, you know, if we keep continuing collecting the money, we can still use that money for the projects we have.
Correct.
So that's, why would we change it?
Because if we go, let's assume we go to $250,000. And, you know, we could have another hotel coming online here shortly, not shortly, maybe two. And so all of a sudden that room tax dollars goes to 250 and 70% of that, instead of saying, how much more can you spend? And I would guess that if you want to, are we going to do TV ads on WCCO? Is that what we want to do? I mean, we could spend the money. And I'm not saying that they've done a bad job.
I'm not suggesting that either. I'm just saying I want to maintain what we have, and if we end up making more or receiving more money, we could certainly we could give them more. And you're saying, I think you don't want, is it right for us to give the nonprofits? There could be more people out there that want some more of the money.
Or we could utilize it for all those projects that we love to do in downtown, in the parks.
And I agree with that.
And so we have revenue that's generated by outside people, a lot of outside people that come into town. And what can we do? What are the needs that we can never get to that Tom can't do, or the police department can't have, or the park board, or any of those kinds of situations? Again, I just want you to think about that. Rich, you've been awful quiet, and that kind of concerns me.
No, I would support freezing the dollar amount for the chamber, and looking at the unallocated dollars that we have for projects within the city. I think it's probably better spent at this point in time within the city. I don't know, and I would agree with your thought that how much more can the chamber do with $200,000 or $170,000? I guess if the chamber wants to come and convince us that they've got other things they can do with it, I'd listen to it. But I'm definitely okay with freezing the dollar
I was going
amount.
to say that's a loaded question, because now we're going to have them come and ask for more.
Well, you might
They
have,
can.
you
They
might
can.
have, we might have everybody.
Of what what we would do with it, which is fine, yeah.
But you know, we collect $9 million in tax revenue, and we have to make decisions what we do with that money, how we spend it. I don't have a problem. That's our job, is to make the decision how we spend the money.
Parking especially, if that's one of the ways we look at it. I
Yes.
mean, if there's not, we've seen what happens with Stillwater. If there's not a place, if you can't even get in, people turn around.
Yep.
Okay, and if you don't have a place to park, people are gonna leave, they're not gonna stay.
Yep.
So I think that definitely is a direct relation to tourism. And it doesn't have to be because it's extra funds, but you can justify it as a direct relation to tourism. even
Again, we
so.
don't have to justify tourism.
I'm just saying,
Yep.
I'm saying as a secondary thought process, these are money that comes in from the hotel tax, from tourists, and you can say that,
And
you
I-
know.
And I can tell you from the public safety meeting that we are closer to a recommendation coming
Okay.
for what we do, and it includes meters on the new stuff, so.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments? We'll just leave it at that, and then we'll bring it up at another meeting and,
Well, I would just like to piggyback on what Randy said. I would like the Finance Committee to consider thinking about the email that we received from the Miss Hudson organization about, we did look into it, and it is our responsibility to float, and they are ambassadors of the city of Hudson. And especially the major needs, like new tires and stuff, we need to make sure that we are able to help them, because just exactly what Alan said, we are the major contributor. There's two major contributors, us and another person, that are the major contributors to Miss Hudson, and that's it. And they do try and fundraise, so it's not like they sit back. So that, when we're ready to discuss that further, I would like us to look into that.
one of the things that, when we start looking at, and again, I'm not picking on any organization, we have absolutely no control on how things happen within the organization. We're giving money out and we hope they utilize it in a proper manner, and 99% of the time, I'm sure they do. But again, we have to be, once that leaves and it's gone.
Yep.
I mean, we don't ask, I'm sure each of the organizations would be willing to give us their financial statement and where they spend their money, but I think we have to be diligent on some of the things that one of the things that, we have concerts in the park. I think they're in there, aren't they?
Yeah, 4,100.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a real short amount, and there isn't one organization here that wouldn't like more money. Let's just say that, and have justification for it. So
Right.
I know we had a one-time deal that this was gonna be done this way, and this is the group, and so a new group comes in, how do they get into this group? If that's the way we're gonna do it.
Right.
So, all right.
Bring up more fireworks again.
Well, you certainly can, because everybody, I mean, honestly, I think November 2nd, the seniors are gonna be here, or 3rd. And Jerry Adams called, and I know what I probably have a pretty good idea what they're gonna be asking for. Our cemetery will probably be here to ask for more money also, and so it doesn't end. So, anything else for future agendas?
I wouldn't mind seeing a list from maybe our staff from public service or parking or the Parks District or something on what they might think about using monies from this fund.
I think they would hurry with requests.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And then in my mind, what happens is if other people do come, we look at what are the needs of the city versus what are the needs of these different groups, and how do we justify giving it to the other groups when the city has these needs.
We do have a certain percentage that has to go out to, do we not, if I understand? And we have a certain percentage that has to go out to tourism, and the state statute specifies what it is. So, there is only so much we can say, we
There's
could
40%
skim too, I
that
mean, we
have to
can't,
use.
right.
So we have
Right.
way more that we put for tourism
Right.
than is required.
No, I'm just saying that it's not like, we can't cut things out altogether. I mean, absolutely, we can tighten up how we give it out and to whom and change that around, but,
I'm not opposed to
Yeah.
keeping these groups here that have gotten it for years and depend on it.
okay.
No, I'm not saying I don't want to cut that out. I believe these groups depend on it. We've conditioned them to have this money, and as long as we can support that, we should continue to support it. I'm just saying that for additional requests.
yes.
Okay?
You're gonna
She was
pack
on,
this-
she watched
You're gonna
TV.
pack our next meeting with all sorts of people.
Well, and again, other people that say, our organization's just as good as any of these organizations, why don't we get the money?
Yeah.
And I think rightfully so. So these are hard budget, Pam Brokaw, called on the craft show. I mean, if you go up there, there's hundreds of people or maybe 1,000 people that go through that with all kinds of booths, and it's a good show. It's a good event for the city, so. All the folks are good events and good organizations, so.
Right.
All right, but I will, I think, Neil, if we could get you to put out that, I think Tom Zuli and Marty
I'll get
Jensen.
something distributed so
Yeah.
that we'll have it.
I think you'll find that there'll be way more requests than we have money available.
I'm positive there is.
In terms of the budget itself, what will be at least in the preliminary budget is just because we have 190,000 in revenues, we will have 190,000 budgeted for expenditures.
Yep.
So that would be the chamber at whatever level you choose, whatever other groups, and then, if you don't spend it, it's just going to be, unspent, but, money that's unspent out of what you've budgeted. So you don't have to make that allocation decision immediately.
But what we're planning, or what we're proposing or discussing, freezing the chamber at 133 or 135 or something like that.
And so if it goes to 200,000, there's $70,000 available for projects, and, there was 43,000, and that's been kind of the request for the last 4 or 5 years. So that gives us 60, and that can do a lot of things with that money. Okay? Is there any other items for future agenda items? We'll put that, you want to look at that, that first week in November, Randy? For the,
Miss Hudson?
for the Miss Hudson pageant?
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have enough information on that?
They gave us a pretty good breakdown of how much things were gonna cost, and
I emailed that to you.
Yep.
and so I think we could get more if we need to, I'm sure. If there's some other questions, I'm sure we can get them answered.
Does anybody want to see the financial statement of the organizations that we, that are requesting money? Or don't you find that necessary?
I would
Or budget,
think,
or
I
how
would
much
think
is
it
their
would be
budget?
something we should look at if we're going to give out more money.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm sure
Can't hurt.
they can supply that as well.
Can't hurt.
They
Well, I
keep-
mean,
They
if-
keep very good records. so-
Again, like you say, the Miss Hudson, if they spend $8,000 and we give them $2,000 or $2,500, that's a big percentage of their budget. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
I better shut this off. I gotta let